Hey, thanks for clicking in. I'm Dave Corbin, and you might know me from some of my books that I've written. From the Wall Street Journal bestseller list, which is pretty cool, and also for the fact that I was one of the winners of the International Healthcare Design Awards for Innovation. Not here to talk about that, except to say that one of the concepts Illuminate that I teach, which is face it, follow it, and fix it. Hey, you can't solve everything you face in life, but you can't solve anything unless you face it. One of the great illuminators is with me here today, and I'm so glad that I got to meet Ron Blackburn, because Ron has illuminated for looking at issues, problems, and challenges and solving them through this model. Ron, I'm glad you're here. Tell people a little bit about your story.
I've been in the building industry for over 40 years, and at a young age, 13 years old, I stepped on a lot of nails. Got tired of stepping on
nails. Not a very smart kid.
Well, it happens to be, I found out through a little research, it's the #1 injury on the job. So my situation was not unique. My uncle got me into it, and he had one go all the way through his foot, coming out the top. At the time, I was a young kid, didn't know what to do, so I just started experimenting with Kevlar, different things that I thought were puncture resistant.
To keep it, so nails
keep the nail from going through, and I was building a shoe. After I got the Kevlar to work and stop the nail, it still bruised the foot. So after trying all these different layers, I brought in some 304 high carbon stainless steel. Really impressive, this product. So I put that in there just to use it as a buffer, to think that it would stop from hurting your foot, but it wouldn't actually stop the nail. Sure enough, it stopped the nail. Had it tested, met all the criteria, threw all the Kevlar away, and we had a great product, affordable, that we could mold and put in people's feet in the building industry.
Now, people who are watching this are primarily watching because of diabetes, diabetic neuropathy, and stuff. So you're telling us that it started out in the construction industry, and you found this stainless steel that moves, and I know you'll talk a little bit about the greater value of that, and the nail couldn't go through.
Correct.
Okay, so then you decided to solve, this is years later, and you won awards for this as well, right?
Yeah, it was the best new safety product of the year.
Okay, and it was OSHA, and didn't you get OSHA approved and all?
It's the only insole ever been endorsed by OSHA.
So you did that, but you didn't sit back on your laurels. You decided to illuminate in another area. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, my uncle was diabetic, and I had other people in my family that were diabetic. In fact, the uncle that went through his foot was diabetic. So I started researching that and realized that a lot of diabetics have problems with their feet. And one of the biggest problems they have is neuropathy. They literally can't feel the bottom of their feet. In association with that, they'll develop peripheral vascular disease, which means that the extremities aren't getting enough blood flow. So if there is an injury to the extremities, it's a big deal. And then they start with amputation, working their way up.
And so this was going to solve for that. And I know that one of your colleagues, who's waiting on the video telephony here to talk a little bit about neuropathy, he in fact, why don't we, if he's there now, why don't we just see if he's there? Is Jim there right now? Because if he is, hey Jim.
So neuropathy is a condition that is common in diabetics where they lose sensation in their feet, and which makes them more susceptible to injuries. They can't feel when something's happening to their foot. A lot of times in tandem with neuropathy, they get peripheral vascular disease. And peripheral vascular disease is an impairment of circulation in the extremities. So if they get an injury to their foot, they're more susceptible to an injury not healing and losing part or all of their foot due to amputation. And so we've developed a version of our Rhino-Tough insole utilizing plastozote, which is a material specifically designed to even out pressure, and it's common on most diabetic insoles. And so we've adopted that to our protective insole so that people get the protection of the insole and the comfort and protection from pressure of diabetic plastozote.
Thanks for that, Jim. Yeah, appreciate it. I'll let you get back to your patients. So that kind of blows my mind. First off, that this problem has existed for a while, and no one's really come up with a solution sort of like this. I'm just blown away by it. And on the construction side, if I'm not mistaken, you went to the underwriter, the UL we see on our products.
Oh, yeah.
What's the story with that?
Well, there is a code in the construction industry for safety boots, and the only product that could meet that was an actual safety boot. The code was 270 pounds of resistance that had to stop a nail from, and they had expensive boots that did that. So we wanted to make an insole that would actually meet those same criteria.
So, and you're telling me that a lot of people in the construction industry they didn't want to wear big clunky boots. They wanted to wear comfortable shoes.
Yeah, well, not only are they expensive, but it's hard when you're walking around the walls in the high areas to have big clunky boots on. So literally, it's unsafe. You want a comfortable tennis shoe where you can feel what you're walking on.
So let's talk about diabetics, because I know that there are diabetic shoes. Now, this is not a substitute for that. If the doctor says you have to have a special shoe, you got to have that shoe.
Correct.
But if the doctor says you don't have to have that shoe, but you need to protect your foot in such a way, then this is the answer?
Yeah, in those protective shoes even, they put in what they call diabetic insoles. And Jim discussed the plastisone and the benefits of that.
Mhm.
It's really crucial to the diabetic. So we just incorporated the puncture-resistant technology in with the plastisone to create a product that is better than any product they've ever had in the market.
So when you say puncture resistant, I saw on video a way that you demonstrate this. And it was a little, I've never seen it in person, but I saw it on video and it's really quite alarming. And when I say alarming, it's, well, you'll see what I'm saying. I'm ready, if you want to do that demo,
Sure.
which you've done, I don't know how many times
Thousands,
you told me.
thousands.
Okay, but there's always a first and this is mine. So why don't you show us a little bit about that?
Okay. I happen to have a board and some
Just happened to,
Yep.
because you told me you were going to do this. All right, so now you've got a nail in the wood, and you're going to take your shoe. You want to make sure you have one of those insoles in there?
I always do.
Okay. All right, so let's see what you got going here.
Okay, here we go. I'm going to hover over the nail.
Ah! And what happened?
Well, it goes through the shoe, because shoes aren't puncture resistant.
Yeah.
And then as soon as it hits the bottom of that steel insole, it bends over, and it kind of traps itself between the bottom of the shoe and inside that pocket. That's why it's still stuck to my foot. So, we pull it out there, and the insole stops the nail.
No, I don't hear you screaming, and I don't see any blood.
You can't even feel it.
Let's just let me just see what it looks like.
Let's see. Yeah, you can't even see where it went through.
I literally, yeah, I see
There's a tiny little scuff.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Well, it's a lot better than it going through the shoe. Now, a lot of diabetics are not going to be jumping on nails.
No.
So what you're demonstrating is the protection of the foot.
Well, some diabetics actually have step-on nails.
Right.
Hypodermic needles, situations where there's glass, things that can cut them. But even stepping on a sharp rock can cause a pressure wound, and a pressure wound on the bottom of the foot can become deadly because they have to start amputating it. But the biggest thing that we believe that this insole solves is the group of diabetics are considered non-compliant. They don't really do what they're told. They're not eating better, doing all the things to make them healthy.
Right, so it's tough.
If they can put these in their shoes and just forget about it, it keeps them mobile, active, and on their feet. And that is 99% of what it's going to take to keep a diabetic alive.
So it's not solving all the problems of non-compliance. If the
No.
doc says, don't eat as much of this, whatever, but at least it'll keep them moving. What did you say? Mobile what?
Active, mobile, and on their feet.
Active, mobile, and on their feet. And
It's
this
so-
gives you a sense of safety.
Yeah, because there's a lot of fear in the diabetic, wanting to go outside and things like that. So
Well-
this allows them to be mobile and active on their feet.
I will get a pair of these for my sister, who is not active, mobile, and on her feet as often as she possibly can, and I'm sure in part for fear, either conscious or unconscious, of getting that sort of ulcer, because there's too many people in my family and maybe yours who suffer from diabetes and diabetic neuralgia who have lost body parts that perhaps they didn't need to. Look, I'm not a physician and neither are you. But as an illuminator, as an inventor, as an innovator, when you find a big problem, a problem that touches so many of us that you can solve or mitigate, it's a good thing. Ron, thanks, man.
Thank you.
All right.